Larp Pat, where you been? Been looking for you all morning. New movie gets released and we don't have theories. I heard Matt Pat was there. Where were you? Theorizing about the Odyssey? You're fired. Spider-Man. Alright, you're unfired. I need you. Come here. What do you know about the MCU?
Oh, the MCU? Well...
Don't answer that. My main theorist got hit in the head ball. You're hot.
Can you like the video in advance? Snants.
You serious? What are you talking about?
Hello, Internet! Welcome to Larp Theory, the show where we don't make the whole world forget about your existence. Today we're talking about Spider-Man. Spider-Man Brand New Day, to be exact. Before we talk about Spider-Man, I need to have a quick disclaimer. This video is heavily not spoiler-friendly, meaning this video contains a ton, and I mean a ton, of spoilers. So, if you haven't seen the movie yet, or are planning to watch it when it comes into streaming services and stay spoiler-free, go ahead and put this video in your watch later playlist, and click off. Now that those non-Spider-Manners are out of here, we can get to the theory! So, Spider-Man Brand New Day was an amazing watch in theaters, having all the grounded aspects and street-level hijinks fans crave. That's right, no aliens in space in this one. Also, we finally get an appearance of Mike Hale Mandu's Scorpion and Sadie Sink as Jean Grey, which both actors absolutely killed as the roles. Literally! We need a Sinister Six movie. I'm looking at you, Marble. Kevin Feige. So during the events of Spider-Man Brand New Day, we see Peter Parker go through a mutation that's causing his arachnid hormones and DNA to outweigh his human side, resulting in him having more spider-like traits. An example of this is the organic webs he gains, or the more animalistic tendencies he has in the cocoon he makes. Throughout the movie, we see him suppress this arachnid side using an inhibitor. By the end of the movie, he embraces and somewhat suppresses the mutation by being half the man and half spider. Which means he's stopped the surplus of arachnid hormones, right? Well, that's what we're here to talk about today. To see what would happen to Spider-Man if Peter's mutation doesn't stop. First of all, we have to figure out what stage of a spider's life cycle Spider-Man is in. We know that his mutation is following the cycle of a spider's life because we see multiple signs of this in the documentary that plays on screen. The documentary says, quote, "Spiders have 3 life cycles. In between cycles, it can leave the spider vulnerable to threats. And for those spiders who make it through, it amounts to a kind of a rebirth." End quote. We actually see all this happen during the course of the film. Peter wakes up in a cocoon, shortly after having increasingly worse migraines. He's out of control of his spidey sense and strength, and also having more animalistic survival instincts. So, now let's figure out what stage of a spider's life cycle Peter's in. Starting off with the egg cycle. During this cycle of a spider's life, the spider is only an egg covered in a sac or cocoon. I don't remember Spider-Man being in an egg like me. So, the next stage is a spiderling. Once the spider becomes a spiderling, it hatched from his cocoon/sac, which is exactly what we see Peter do. Other than that, spiderlings are pretty much just small adult spiders, but spiderlings do something called ballooning, where it basically spews out a big web net to be able to fly in the wind. We don't quite see Spidey moving like Insomniac Spider-Man, but we do see him do something similar when he's fighting the Hand. So this means we've narrowed it down to Pete being in the spiderling stage, especially with the hardships he goes through, and how his mutation is still changing. I think it's important to remember the distinction. Peter Spidey is a mutate. A mutate is not a mutant. Mutates are defined as any character who mutates from something that happens to them, like the Hulk or Fantastic Four. Banner is mutated by the radiation. He wasn't born with the Hulk inside of him, so it won't get so powerful with age and is also easier to control. On the flip side, Jean Grey is a mutant, meaning she was born with it, and it developed in puberty. This power originates from the X gene, which is something they're not only born with, but can trace to find the mutations and why. However, Peter's spiderness originates in all of his DNA, being altered when bitten by the radioactive, potentially Oz formula exposed spider. So this means it's not something his body is really built for, but it also means the spider could take over more and more. Most theorists were eager to jump to the conclusion of saying he'll become man-spider or spider's man. But this isn't necessarily the case. He might be on track to become a spider totem, which is big potato stuff compared to the small potatoes of man-spider. A spider totem is anything intrinsically connected to spiders in the web of life and destiny. Becoming a spider totem is not out of the picture for this universe either. He'd have to be chosen by the Great Weaver or the Other to be an avatar. Believe it or not, we've seen this in the MCU. Exhibit A, Moon Knight. Mark Spector. Steven? The third guy, Mark. Mark S is the avatar of Khonshu and is chosen to be the, Moon Knight. In comics, Peter undergoes extreme bodily changes and wakes up in a web cocoon. He's also being attacked by a psychic threat. Sound familiar? In this comic, Peter Man also gets enhanced senses, strength, healing, toughness, and organic webs. It's an evolution in many levels, like in the movie. So, there you have it. The truth behind the movie Unmasked. But there's more! Being a totem makes you an integral part to the great web of burgers and fries. I mean life and destiny, which actually is something multiversal, making Timothy Holyland, or 1999-99 Spidey, or I guess 616 if you want to believe Kevin Fiverr, into an important part of the multiverse, or Spider-Verse. Also, he has to take these spider-like traits he's evolving and accept them, just like in the movie. Food for thought! So, there you go. Movie solved. Why isn't the video over? That's the answer, right? Man-spider! On the other side of the theorist coin, we have the possibility of the grotesque and overall horrid man-spider. Undergoing this transformation is caused by the overwhelming amount of spider DNA overpowering his human side. Again, like the Hulk. In one story, Peter talks to Curtis Connors, the lizard, not the YouTuber, to understand these changes. The same way MCU Peter talks to Bruce. This transformation gives him organic webs, animalistic and violent traits, and heightened senses. The animalistic traits and spider-like eyes in the movie are major connections for a possible MCU man-spider. There are major caveats to this theory, however. For starters, Peter still only has 2 eyes. And for seconds, he doesn't grow any extra limbs. But his anger and apparent lack of control, especially when using insomniac moves on the Scorpion, and almost killing someone, make a lot of sense if his control was taken over by the spider. In most variations, he makes some kind of inhibitor or serum, but I doubt that's what they're getting at, especially because he usually makes a potion or gas that he inhales like he's a cackling witch. A scarlet witch! Some internet theorists are convinced that the MCU webhead might become Spider's Man. Spider's Man is very different to most possibilities, because it's more of a what if. And yes, that's spiders plural. In this timeline, Peter is overtaken by a horde of radioactive spiders and is replaced by a hive mind of arachnids in the shape of a man. And if you believe this, you're probably pretty... It is honestly pretty gross, and I pity the people who have to edit or draw or color or ink this guy. Back to the life cycle of a spider. Earlier, we claimed Tomb Holyland was in the spiderling stage.
You're the spiderling. Crime-fighting spider. You're Spider Boy?
Spider-Man.
Or that at least he's developing from this stage. Spiderlings actually undergo many stages of molting, during which it sheds its outer shell in order to grow and change. Another thing to note is how spiders develop differently based on their environment, especially with availability to predators and prey. Spiderlings also do not stay with their mothers after hatching, which, if you read into things as much as I do, is just like Aunt May. So, if Spiders O'Toole is still a spiderling, Then what's next? When spiders become adults, they become able to mate, and they search for some way or someone to reproduce. Also, they sometimes grow extra appendages. So I guess man spider isn't fully off the table. But these appendages are actually for greater senses, meaning Brand New Day might be his molting stage from spiderling to an adult spider. Out of all of the information presented, his adaptations and changes all seem to point to Peter becoming a spider totem, especially with the Spider-Verse involved and the fact that he is not growing any extra appendages, and especially not in his mandibles. This could also explain the other Spider-Man in deep space for the end credit scene, as spider totems are important throughout the Spider-Verse and sometimes worshipped or protected. Though in reality, none of this is likely. Knowing Marvel and Sony's business practices and attempt at continuity, he's probably just getting stronger and more powerful, kin to the original stories, and the space sightings from an incursion to prepare us for Doomsday. However, skeptics and theorists were able to put the puzzle pieces together. And to think they believed Venom would show up. Oh no, dear theorist, we've solved the truth behind the movie. And you can safely say 1999, or 616 if you believe Kevin Feige. Peter Parker is unequivocally becoming, or is, a spider totem. Get Miguel O'Hara on this immediately, am I right?
Okay, so we're just gonna roll the dice on this?
Maybe in Spider-Man Call It a Day, we'll get his most formidable and my personal favorite foe.
Well, if it isn't the wall-crawling creep. Here's one wall you'll never crawl, you red and blue buffoon!
But hey, that's just a theory. A LARP theory. And cut.